Hey everyone, it's Mike with It's Pittsfield Tonight. It is Wednesday, June 11th, and I'm going to jump right into it. So here at the studio, I'm wrapping things up with Studio A, which is the main studio set, which I will be using to host candidates for this year's municipal elections in Pittsfield, which I'm sure everyone does know that this year, because I've been talking about it and everyone else has. But this year is an election year for the city of Pittsfield, for Pittsfield's school committee, Pittsfield City Council, and Pittsfield City Clerk's office, or city clerk. That being said, also, I don't know why our elected officials are pushing to change the terms for school committee, city clerk, and city councilor to 4-year terms. Why? I don't want to hear it's expensive to do the elections, or it takes so much time, it's only a 2-year term, and you end up campaigning. Because listen, that's what was talked about when it got changed for the mayor's position to 2 to 4 year. And I somewhat went along with that because we had seen some election cycles in the past where they got really heated with mayor, and it ran for a good 10 to 12 months of campaigning. So when you heard the excuse, well, it's a 2-year term and you got to spend half of it campaigning, when you could, it doesn't give you enough time to work on things. I kind of agreed with that. And then there's a lot of data that shows nationally that 4-year terms are the most common for mayor. City council, school committee, and city clerk, why? It's not necessary. And I, again, believe that having city councilors especially, or school committee members, as 2-year terms with a 4-year term mayor, it kind of creates an extra check and balance. And it works to the advantage of, it can work both ways. Hopefully it works to the advantage of the people, the constituents. But if a mayor has 6 members of that 11-member council, which I think that's too big. I don't see what 4 at-large councilors, but that's a different conversation. But if a mayor has 6 of those councilors against them, it's going to make it so difficult to get anything passed. If they have 6 of them that are all for them, it's at the same token, it's difficult for any opposition if it works that way. So it helps create a check and balance. If you're not happy with your representation for your ward or at large over maybe a big issue or something that triggered it, you have that ability with an election every 2 year. Even if you can't vote for mayor, you can vote for your ward representation. So I just don't understand why. And the other angle to that is incumbents in municipal elections are very difficult to beat because you get embedded, and there's this learning curve, and then you get embedded in city government, and it happens all over the country. That's politics. But when you see that here, even it's very difficult to challenge an incumbent because they have access to information and data and things that you don't. And anyway, to have an incumbent that's embedded in there for 4 years, all that's going to do is shrink down the pool, the amount of people that are going to be willing to run for office, because they won't think they can beat any of these people. It's going to lock those positions up. And not to mention that I believe we still have in our charter, after 10 years, even a city councilor, you have access to some of these benefits for life. So that would be being elected 3 times. So someone like, say our Ward 5 city councilor, Patrick Cavey, who was elected at 26 or 27 years old, something like that. So at 36 or 37 in his 30s, he'll be eligible for benefits that the city will be paying for the rest of his life. There's a whole lot of things that need to be looked at. But with that, it sounded like the way they were talking about it, that it'll be a charter review committee that makes this decision. I hope I'm just not understanding it fully, the process. And I'm going to ask Mayor Marchetti about that, which I'll go over in a second. But I hope that goes to the ballot for the residents to decide whether those positions, school committee, city councilor, and city clerk, should be 4-year terms. I don't think they should. I don't think anything's wrong with the system. It's not broken. They're not high pressure positions where they can't get their work done because they're worrying about campaigning so much. And come on. I mean, some of our counselors are so embedded, they don't even really have to campaign. And they say that. They don't even have to put signs out. It's a strange political climate here, but pay attention to that, everyone. That one bothers me, because where does it stop? Will we be going down the road with somebody saying, well, the mayor can't get enough done. The mayor should be 6-year terms or 8-year terms. And we just keep inflating and inflating and growing and swelling our government. It should not be the case. There's nothing wrong with the system we have now, and it should stay that way. And that's my opinion. All right, so I will ask Mayor Marchetti about that. I'm going to do an interview with him coming up in the next day or two that I'll be putting out in a day or two after that. So I'll probably be putting that out on the weekend or Monday morning. The latest, I'll do a quick update with everyone on that. And I'm going to ask him about quite a few things. Our $226 million budget, his safety median ordinance proposal that he caught a lot of heat for, his camping ordinance proposal, I call it that he caught a lot of heat for, that is still being kicked around and talked about, some of the stuff that was said about the mayor is absolutely ridiculous in my opinion. I get that everyone is heated in this political climate we live in these days, but to call Peter Marchetti a Nazi and an extremist and saying that he wants to see poor people die and doesn't care, that's absolutely ridiculous. And I'll get into those ordinances later because I want to talk to Mayor Marchetti about that, and that's going to be part of our discussion. So rather than just going over that here in the next, like I said, I'm meeting with him at City Hall Friday, and I'll have that out in the next day or two after that, or maybe even then. We'll see. But there's a lot to ask him with that. But, if you do look, you take the homeless situation in Pittsfield, and when I was watching the public health and safety meeting, you had quite a few people that got up and spoke. You had someone from ServiceNet get up and speak. And when those people in that industry get up and speak, it's a little irritating to me. And I'm not saying they don't care and they're not good people and all that. They might be the best, most wonderful people on the planet. But this is what they do for a living. It's an industry. And they have these cliche phrases and things they say, and I don't feel like you're ever hearing any kind of answer or solution. They'll tell you, well, we need to put together a comprehensive plan that is, truly all-encompassing and providing love and care and compassion, and also understanding that it's complex and you can't solve this for everyone overnight. And it's just this mush of words that sound good, but at the end of it, okay, we understand homelessness is a serious issue. To me, it seems pretty cut and dry what the root cause is. I mean, we're seeing in our country, the gap between rich and poor is getting so wide, it's ridiculous. And you take a community like Pittsfield, where I believe we're going through this process, it's being gentrified. And I've said this before, and I'm not saying it it's some evil conspiracy, but the community is changing. And rents and home ownership and everything in the Berkshires is becoming unobtainable for people under a certain income level, and it's creating more and more of this. And then you have a serious issue in our country with the opioid and fentanyl crisis. That's no joke. So there's that. But again, when I heard this individual, Erin Forbush, I think her name is, and she's our local director under ServiceNet. And you have to remember, when you hear these people speak, especially someone from ServiceNet has a yearly operating budget, I believe in 2025, it was $110 million, over 1,900 employees. They have pensions and benefits, and it's an industry. Unsheltered homelessness, addiction, it's an industry. It employs all these people. It's a big thing. It's a machine. And I have my own feelings on a lot of that. And I'm not saying the individuals doing the on the ground work aren't there for the right reason, but it's a very complex issue when you look at it that way. Our situation in Pittsfield, from the numbers I've heard regularly, even at the recent meetings, from that meeting even where Aaron Forbush, I think it's a rough estimate of our unsheltered in the community around 100 people. That's the number they throw out there. And the city has invested millions. We have so much housing coming online. We have enough housing coming online that could cut that number of 100 in half or more almost instantly. And that's why, again, to say that Mayor Marchetti hates poor people, that's crazy. Look, I wasn't a big fan of Mayor Linda Tyre, but she got the ball rolling with these programs for the housing. That happened, having access to ARPA funds made a lot of that possible. The First United Methodist Church, on Finn Street, ServiceNet is running that shelter there. Again, I have my own personal feelings about a lot of these organizations and how that works, the bigger picture, but it is obvious that Pittsfield is making the investments that you don't see a lot of other communities doing. They've invested millions into a lot of these new housing units coming online. And the mayor is open to a lot of things. So I definitely am going to talk to him in depth with that. It just shocked me that how much he was unnecessarily attacked by some of the theatrics of some of these people. And it seemed very theatrical. Like, stay kind of level-headed on that. So anyway, the fire chief spoke at the public health and safety meeting about his view on it. A lot of people spoke with serious concerns too, and I'm not for that ordinance. I didn't like it. But I was happy to hear that the mayor finally is bringing something to the table and keeping it there till we come to a solution. Because leaving people to fend for themselves in encampments in the woods, the time I spent that year, I spent almost every day with some of our advocates in our local encampments, and that was during the pandemic, 2020 to 2021. I spent that year heavily concentrated on a daily basis, going through the parks and encampments, a lot of time at Springside Park. And when Mayor Marchetti said, I can't let those people live like that, I know what he's saying because I caught a lot of heat when I said those same words in videos a few years ago. But what I was saying is the conditions they were living in, I don't think they understood it. And when I went home at night, I'm like, this is crazy. Those people we're leaving them out there in the woods. I mean, the city brought in porta potties and stuff, but we're leaving them out there in the woods in tents. And I was watching them like, human waste in buckets, garbage everywhere, needles everywhere, people with infections in their arms, the most unsanitary conditions you could imagine. And I kept thinking, how can we leave these people out there like this? They're going to die. It seemed cruel. And if you would ask them, that's where a lot of them wanted to be. But there was obviously some issues, some mental health issues, substance issues. It was a lot deeper than a lot of people talk about. Yes, there are those in homelessness that are there for a multitude of reasons. And some of them, they couldn't afford where they were living anymore. There's different classes of that, but we do have an issue with mental health and addiction issues. And, that's a big piece of that puzzle. But anyways, I want to talk about that those two ordinances, the median safety ordinance and the camping ordinance, in depth or as much as we can with Mayor Marchetti, and really understand where he's coming from with that and what he hopes the solution is. I hope there finally is a solution to where people don't have to live like that in our community, that we can provide the services needed to make sure that that's not happening. And I hope and think that that's everyone's goals. So attacking each other is not going to get that done. Keeping the issue at the forefront is going to get it done. All right, so I've talked a whole bunch. That's it for now. Pay attention, though, with everything going on with the elections this year. Know your candidates. And if you want coverage, as soon as I have Studio A up, if you are running for office, once you get submitted on the ballot, reach out to me. I will definitely invite you on for an interview if that's something you're interested in, and you can talk to the people through this channel. All right, so that is it for now. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and I'll catch y'all in the next day or two.